Greetings, this is Stacy Patrice, and we are here, day 9 of the Countdown to Clarity vlog series, counting down to my Earth Day and beyond my Earth Day at this point. And today's topic is about the infamous F word, fear, and knowing what fear looks like. How can we operate and vibrate in a space where fear is not a factor? And I felt like this topic really needed to be talked about because other than experiencing it myself for many years, just feeling absolutely paralyzed by what outcomes may bring. And sometimes realizing that those outcomes were self-imposed, or they were always self-imposed, and that there's really nothing to be concerned about when you're living in your truth. And I'm not going to go on a super tangent about how fear is this amazingly bad type of feeling. That's just not true. Fear is very useful. Fear is useful because it is an emotion. It is an indicator. It is your body's instinct, your human instinct telling you that there is some prevalent threat or danger, that there is something that is happening that is not in alignment with, your success. And so a lot of times we think of fear as being this dangerous place, or, something's going to happen to somebody, or, there are a lot of different ways we, context fear. But what I really want to talk about is, how do you personally know, not what someone else would be afraid of and you wouldn't, but how do you know when fear is giving you a proper indication? How do you know when your fear is on? And what is the difference between, your fear, your intuition, anxiety, doubt, worry, all these different emotions, and how do you navigate through them? So today I just want to talk about that a little bit, just from my experience and, some of the tools that I use in helping other people to figure out what that is. And one of the first things that I really want to bring to the forefront is that there are two states of being. Just like there is life and there is death, just like there is, fear, there is love, and just like there is expansion, there's also contraction. So you can already guess that fear aligns with contraction. And when you think of contraction, think of something simple like, I'm going to the gym, I'm working out, I want to get big, I want to get buff. I'm going to continue to keep using this, dumbbell in the same way until I get to a point where I fatigue my muscle and this muscle is huge and it's sitting out. And it's sitting out because it's contracted, which means it's not necessarily a long muscle. It's a muscle that has been, impacted in a way that its volume is much more obvious than its length. And this is the same thing that happens with fear. If you are fearful, you're in a contracted state. And that contracted state a lot of times is communicating to other people that you're not looking at your entire life. You're looking at this one moment. And this one moment, which is the contraction in this example, this one moment, you're looking at every single possible thing that could go wrong, volume. And you're looking at, oh my God, these are just some ideas. What if I fall? What if I fail? What if I succeed? What happens if I can't handle it? What happens if I don't know? What happens if someone finds out I'm a farce? What happens if, I say the wrong thing? What happens if someone takes my idea? All of these things that happen. And fear will hold you captive. Fear will definitely hold you captive. Fear will hold you in that space that you create. If you want to create this big voluminous space of worry, this bubble of worry, fear will hold you captive to that space. You will have to reprogram yourself in order to move out of that space. And I thought about this last week because I thought about, what are other examples of contraction? And of course, obviously, the first one I thought of was labor. I thought of labor and I thought of how your body is essentially trying to work as hard as it possibly can, if you're a woman, to push this child out, to get this child into the world. This contraction is happening, is letting you know that, how soon, or, perhaps what type of condition the baby is in. Is the baby stressed? Is it relaxed? these contractions are giving you indicators of how hard your body has to work. And there are a lot of factors that, are in consideration in terms of your contractions. But these contractions are happening at a rapid pace, and this child has to come out, wants to come out, needs to come out. Everything is conspiring together to get this child out. So these contractions are necessary, because without these contractions, can we say that a living being would be brought into the world that way? But it doesn't mean we have to identify with the pain of the contractions more than we identify with the journey of the contractions are necessary to get the child out. With that example, let's think a little further. I like to think of fear as an extractor or as an extraction. So instead of, thinking of it as, oh my goodness, when I'm fearful, I dim down, I get small, I become dispirited, I get weak, I turn my light down. Start thinking of fear as an indicator again, and thinking of it as an extraction. So when we think of an extraction, we're talking about, what is it in my system that needs to come out? What is it about me? What is it about my thoughts? What is it about my conditions, my emotional chemical makeup that I am repeating that needs to come out? I have told myself something that I have made a truth, or someone has told me something that I have made a truth. Either way, I did it. So what is that thing that I need to address so that this condition can be dealt with? It can be moved through. It can be dissipated. Because fear is temporary unless you make it permanent. So if I decide, simple fear, I'm scared of dogs, right? If I decide I'm scared of dogs, every time I see one, I'm going to have a fear response. I'm going to think that dog is trying to kill me, attack me, take my life. There might be some dogs where that might be reasonable to think, especially if the dog is chasing you, coming after you, and it's growling and its teeth are showing and it's, if that's happening, maybe fear is an appropriate response to get the heck out of Dodge and go do what you need to do. But let's think about, if a dog gets on the elevator with you, this is a crammed up space, you're scared of dogs. Or if a dog is walking down the street with its owner on a leash and its owner is yanking the leash. Is this a situation where fear needs to be enacted? And the only situation that would make fear be enacted when you're not at a threat is your idea of a threat. It's your idea of what this simple circumstance could mean to the entirety of your life. You make this one simple moment and circumstance dictate something that has not even happened, that likely won't happen, that you could prevent from happening, that you have the moment right there to change the energy so that it doesn't happen. But a lot of times we don't think of ourselves as being that powerful in these circumstances. So just to give you a short story, a dog, I'm not scared of dogs, but I do know that if a dog is chasing me, I would react differently than just walking down the street and a dog is not paying attention to me. One day I was walking to the train. There was this dog that was, running by itself, not on a leash, no owner, nothing, just walking down the street. And I'm walking down the street and I see the dog coming toward me. And I said, oh, that's interesting. Where's the owner? So I'm scanning around looking for the owner. There is no owner. The dog comes toward me. I'm walking at steady rate trying to get to the train. I know my train is on its way. I don't really have time to slow down and all of that. So of course I start to get an anxiety kind of response of, okay, well, Stacy, calm that down, breathe. This dog doesn't want you just off GP. If you respond in a loving way, the dog will respond in a loving way. And I really believe that, and I have faith in that process. And so at the time, I think I was thinking, what are you going to do if the dog decides it doesn't want to let you go to the train? And I didn't have time to think before the dog walked right up to me, right at my legs, and was like, it just started growling at me. And I was sitting there, and I did not try and move. I didn't try and say, go, get you. I had absolutely a non-reaction moment. And the dog walked up to me, and I stood there, and I looked at it, and I gave it a face off, and it wasn't a mean face off. I just said, sent positive thoughts to myself so that I could be calm, so that I didn't panic, and the dog sniffed my feet and walked away. Now, if that was a fear of mine, that was my extraction moment. That was my moment to say, all right, Stacy, instead of you getting into a panic and worrying, here's your moment to say, what do I do? I'm in the situation right now. This is a present happening. How can I transform this happening so that I never have to come to this precipice ever again where I have to feel that I am scared of a dog? Maybe there is some other truth I have not told myself. And in that moment, I told myself that truth, that the dog doesn't want me. The dog just wants to go where the dog wants to go. It's not looking for me for food or anything like that. It just wants to go on its merry way. And I allowed the dog to have that moment of maybe I do, maybe I don't. and then let the dog go on its way. And I went on my way, and I was on time. I made my train and everything. And I felt so much better afterwards because it wasn't a moment where I had changed my construct so that it became this snowball effect of ideas and thoughts and what have you. So, we acknowledge that fear is a contraction, but instead of responding with a contracted demeanor, it's in our best interest, or at least in my opinion, it's in our best interest to respond with an extracting demeanor. What do I need to get done? What needs to happen? What do I need to deal with? These ideas about being perfect, these ideas about, procrastinating until it's right, these ideas about sacrificing my life because there's something I can't do at any moment, these ideas about feelings and, emotions don't mean nothing and I don't care about my feelings. These excuses that I create in order to stop something great from happening to me are all in line with fear. Sacrifice doesn't have to be real. The sacrifice can be something as simple as, oh, well, you know what? I am currently sacrificing the life I want for the life I have. I really want this other life. I would like to write my own rules. I would like to help create, a new existence for myself. But this idea that I have right here that is trapped in fear is why I can't have that life. And so that's a sacrifice. And so even buying into the concept of full sacrifice is not really true. And if we can just figure out why we believe this, when there's evidence all around us that there's a constant flow that we can all tap into, and why do we believe on any level that this flow only hits us if we win, or this flow only hits us if we're in favor, or this flow only hits us if we were born with a certain set of something. And we don't believe that, there's equal opportunity for everyone to experience this flow. And some people, because of choices they've made and things they decide to do, there is no opportunity for them to hit that flow with that same construct of thinking. Something has to change in order for that new construct to appear. And this is where, we really get deep into how can we change the way that we context things. We can't eliminate fear where we don't acknowledge it is. I think we all know someone, if we're not that someone, that walks around and says, I ain't scared of anything. I'm not scared of nothing. You don't have to live in fear. They might not live in fear. They might not acknowledge fear as a real response. They may not even react to fear with more fear. And they may not call it fear. But there is an instinct to something that's not good. Some of the people that I know the most that talk about how they're not fearful are the biggest commitment phobics I've ever met in my life. And it's not that they believe they're fearful of being committed or being in a relationship or being with someone. They are saying that it's not good for them. But it not being good for them derives from a state of fear. How could anything that's happening not be good for you? If you're on a path to grow and learn and journey, how could it not be good for you? Even if in that moment, again, that voluminous moment where you're feeling contracted and you're thinking of all the things that could go wrong, how could you not come out on the other side of that and see all the things that went well, or see all the opportunity in that challenge? That fluff of not being fearful is something that stops us from being able to conquer fear, to be able to, move through the fear and get to the other side where that is now something that you never have to worry about. That is now something you're not anxious about. That is not a program that you're running every time you encounter it. We feed ourselves right into the vortex of this great opportunity to live in the way that we envision. And not to just say, I really wish I could. It'd be nice I could. Those excuses that come up. And I mean, we all have them. This is not some, once you conquer a fear, you're never fearful again. It comes up in different circumstances. So those ideas that we have that become excuses are just trying to stop us from facing our fears. Think of any one excuse right now that you have about anything: working out, eating well, loving someone more, following the life you want, having, your dreams come to fruition, working on your finances, working on leaving the job that you're at, working on getting a new job. Whatever it is, know that whatever excuse you can come up with right now as to why you haven't done those things, it's totally suitable, right? Whatever excuse you have right now, know that that excuse is your self-programmed way of stopping you from dealing with your fear. You don't want to call it a fear, but you won't put certain things in place because as soon as you do, you know, deep in your intuition, you know you're going to have to deal with it. And so you say, oh, well, I just really don't have time, or, I just don't think it's for me. But have you tried it? Judging it before you try it is another way to not deal with your fear. What happens if you don't have all the answers? What happens if you're not perfect? What happens if you're not in control? I'm not saying you have to try every single thing, but if something keeps coming up or if it keeps speaking to you, there's probably something in that you need to pay attention to. And my estimation is that as soon as you do, it'll start to become, like it'll start to become this habit. It'll start to become one of those habits where I have to do this all the time. Now I have to be the person that jumps into things before I know what's going to happen. And that's the life that I've created for myself, is just saying that when I don't know what's going to happen, those are some of the biggest magical moments of my life. When I have no idea, I have an idea what I'd like, I have intentions, but I'm not forcing my hand and making something happen. Those are some of the most serendipitous moments. Those are some of the most synchronous, synergistic ideas that happen. Those are some of the most miraculous times to improve upon whatever state and quality my life is going through currently. And we have to look for that value and that quality. We have to look to see if those excuses and those fears add value or whether they take away. Wouldn't love add value to whatever it is you want? Then we have to sit up here and say, you know what? I think I know that tight feeling in my heart, that tight feeling in my gut, that tight feeling, I get a headache or a migraine. Those type feelings are definitely stress responses, and stress is definitely indicative of some type of anxiety or worry, and anxiety is definitely indicative of some type of fear, and fear is definitely indicative of some type of love that's missing. So now we're back to yesterday's topic. We're back to vibrating on love again. Every time, we take that that other road, and life is not exciting and there's no sparkle in your eye and you don't know what you're going to do and you haven't figured out, or you feel depressed or you feel less than, those ideas are definitely coming from a very set mind state, and it's time to free yourself from that mind state. It's time to chase freedom, moksha. It's time to chase that liberation that allows you to just flow freely. It's time. It's time. And some people say, wake up. Some people say, get into life. Stop being on the sidelines. Get into the game, win. And these are all ways that people motivate themselves. And whatever way you motivate yourself is fine. Just find a way to motivate yourself. Find a way to deal with your fears. Don't always try and, do it on paper or just in a conversation. At some point, you have to jump in and do it. You have to be the type of person that understands what has to be done in order to have the type of life that you admire. And so I just want to encourage everyone to find that beautiful space where you say to yourself, hey, not this time. Take inventory of how many ideas that you've made truth. And then also take inventory if those ideas are helping you advance or holding you back. Think of your life being encapsulated in this onion. This onion is a train of thought. And every time you find a thought and it feels like, peel those layers of that onion back until you get all the way to the middle. It makes you cry. Just start peeling those layers back. Just peel them back, peel them back, peel them back. And as you're peeling back the layers to the onion, what you'll discover is that what was in there for you to discover, whether it's why the onion made you cry or why you had to peel back so many layers, no matter what, that lesson and that example in that process is exactly what you needed to get past whatever has been holding you captive. Find where you're passionate. Try everything that gives you an inkling that you're interested in it on some level, even if you observe, if you apprentice, if you volunteer, if you help, if you create, if you lead, you manage, you manifest, if you become a partner, if you support, someone else's endeavor. Whatever you have to do to manifest, plot it out and just jump in and wait and see what happens and see how that transforms what you think about yourself, how it transforms your confidence and, all of these other beautiful qualities that are just waiting to be demonstrated. Walk in your flight. I know that sounds strange, but walk in your flight. Totally sit in the idea of you being weightless and being able to soar and being able to experience a bird's-eye view of everything that's going on and not look at it as, this is happening to me. Look at the landscape of it as a whole, as to what is possible. And just choose a new path. And take one thing at a time. Don't try and change your whole life, do a whole overhaul. Okay, I'm going to work out. I'm going to eat well. I'm going to get a girlfriend. I'm going to, don't try and do that. I know people who have done that. And when they do that, usually it's all a disaster. Because whatever their root cause is, whatever their root issue is, it's out picturing as so many different things. And they think that these are all separate things, but it's the one single thing that they need to deal with. So get to the root of it. And don't allow your anxiety to overthrow your trust, your faith. Your anxiety is momentary. Let it pass. Breathe it out. Think of all the beautiful things that can happen. Think of, you being victorious on the other side if that's what it takes. But totally don't allow that anxiety to take over. It can. It totally can. And just find that space where it's like, you know what, maybe I need to sit down and breathe. Maybe I need to take a rest. Maybe I need to create something. Maybe I need to express something. Whatever it is you need to do. Maybe I need to hear nothing. Turn everything off. Cut out. And these are all wonderful ways to get back to your core. Allow your behaviors to reveal to you what is happening, what's on autopilot, and what you can begin to acknowledge and move through and then omit. Okay? Please leave some comments below about fears that you've had and how you dealt with these fears. Maybe how, everything orchestrated for you to face the fears. It's not always a voluntary type of thing. Sometimes you get in a situation and your back's against the wall and you got to deal with it. Just keep in mind, it's something my dad used to say, and I actually heard Oprah say, if you are too much in a struggle, if you are struggling all the time, it's just a constant struggle, you're out of alignment. You're out of alignment. It's the first biggest indicator that you're out of alignment. It's not that things will be easy and you won't have to work, but you're out of alignment if you feel that everything in life is a struggle. Life was not designed to be a struggle. There are no people that, life should be a struggle for them unless they say so. Unless that is their lesson, that the more they struggle, the more they learn about what's possible. Then in that case, maybe it's necessary, but you don't have to struggle permanently. And, something has been long out of alignment if you struggle permanently. And just start taking the time one by one and fixing things and see if your life doesn't shape up. Thank you so much for listening. I love you. Peace, blessings, grace, and namaste to you. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.